The broadcast is starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's Platinum webinar with your host, Todd Walters.
Thank you, Andrea. Welcome, everyone. It's great to talk to you today. I'm going to encourage you to pay very close attention because we're going to be talking about your bottom line. That's right, the amount of money that's left after you pay everything. So that is a ring-making activity, by the way, and as you know, first week of just about every month of the year, you get me and you get Craig Proctor, and we come right at you on the basic 5 big rain-making activities that you really should only be doing and delegating the rest to others. So with that, let's bring on Mr. Proctor. Craig, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well today, Todd. Thanks for asking. You know, when I got into real estate and I started making some money, I figured, I'm making all this money. Certainly, you know, some of it's sticking to the bottom line. You know, that was my mindset when I first started to do well in real estate is, well, I'm making lots of money, I'm doing lots of deals, so certainly, you know, things are going to work themselves out, and at the end of the year, I'm going to make lots of money, and I didn't worry too much about expenses and controlling things and having a budget, because that was my mindset. If you make a lot, the expenses will take care of themselves and everything will be okay. And that was very dangerous thinking. And I think you kind of operated like that early in your career as well. And then we have this awakening, right? This realization that, holy cow, being in business is expensive. And you gain this appreciation for how expensive it is to be in business, and to make a profit, which is the only reason we should be doing any of this, is who cares about what we gross? It's all about what we're left. You got to be very, very, very particular about how your money is being spent. And you know, then I hired a controller to come in and work for me, and I would get regular reports from her and have regular meetings, because if you're not going to do it, the number crunching yourself, and somebody needs to do the number crunching. If you're not going to do the number crunching, somebody has to do the number crunching for you. Now, I will say this: the danger with getting a money cruncher, a controller, an accountant, a bookkeeper, whatever you want to call them, is the only thing that the bookkeeper, the controller, the number cruncher knows how to do is cut expenses. And that can be dangerous as well, because these people want to cut everything, right, including cutting marketing that actually works. For example, they would think that the marketing you do is an unnecessary expense, and being involved in this program is an unnecessary expense. And although at first my bookkeeper did help me cut some wasteful expenses, she continued on that tangent of cutting everything. So the bad was cut, but eventually the good was being cut as well. And we ended up cutting things that actually were a good investment. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that is a real danger when you delegate the number crunching to somebody else.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I've been a victim of that myself. You know, you kind of delegate or, you know, almost abdicate some responsibility on that. You know, like I don't like bad news, you know, and, you know, so if we're having a tough month, or we're having a tough month, or expenses were exceeding, you know, really what they needed to be, or the income was down as a result of who knows what, and like I didn't want to hear that, but hey, you got to hear it. I'll give you an example. We were doing a mastermind with some platinum members a couple of conferences ago, and we were going around the room, and I asked them, hey, is your business up or down last month over the same month a year ago, and if so, why? Okay, so and they would get up and say, yeah, my business was up, or my business was up, and, you know, a couple of them, my business was down, and then they would say, but, you know, this next month, you know, we're looking pretty good, and we've got this going. I was like, wait a second, you know, don't let yourself off the hook like that. You know, you've got a down month. Like, why? Why was that month off? What's going on? And you know, it's almost like, you know, a lot of us entrepreneurs, we don't want to really dwell on those kind of things. So because of that, expenses can get out of whack. Profit can suffer. So I thought today would be a great day to spend a few minutes just really talking about the things that really impact the bottom line. Look at the Platinum P&L model a little bit, have some discussions about cost of sales and the like, and just try to get a measuring stick on what's a good bottom line number. Hey, before that, Craig, I will go ahead and plug the Super Bowl, the Platinum Money Making Summit's coming up April 9th, 10th, and 11th. I know you and I have pretty much put the finishing touches on this thing now, and it's going to be one heck of a conference, our biggest and best ever in the 11 years I've been doing this with you. So, dude, I'm super excited.
Yeah, we're going to have about 400 Platinum members, plus our Titanium members, plus all of our coaching members. I mean, this is going to be the biggest conference that we've done. I'm going to say this is probably the biggest we've done since the financial crisis, probably since about April of '08. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure that we know that you're going to be there. Because if we don't know you're going to be there, chances are we won't have materials for you. Mm-hmm. And how do they do that? How do they, if they haven't already let us know that they're going to be registering, what's the best way for them to do that, Todd?
Actually, yeah, on the coaching site there. Let me pull that up here real fast and show that screen. And here it comes. Okay, so
this is a bit of a production. I mean, well, I don't want to give away all the stuff we're going to do, but it's a football Super Bowl theme, and it will kind of feel like you're at the Super Bowl. That's our goal. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't have Katy Perry singing or anything, but Todd, we might put a wig on him or something.
That would be bad. All right, so yeah, you can log into the coaching site, and you can go about it two ways. Right here, there's a video we put up by Mark Asino. He was doing a video for some of his coaching members. We thought it was good to share with everyone. So as soon as you log into the homepage, and right here, you can just click the button. Yes, I'm attending. I'm undecided. No. Okay, that's a big deal. Give us some comments and some feedback. You hit submit, it'll automatically register you. Okay, so that's one way. And then, of course, there's a big register now button up here, and on the schedule under live meetings as well. So that's where we take care of that, Mr. Proctor, and you can even download the agenda. If you don't have that yet, I'd recommend you get it and do it. So, yeah, it's going to be great. It's coming up fast, too, man. April 9th will be here before you know it.
Yep, about a month away.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. All right, let's talk a little bit. I know that I've got you for a few more minutes here, Craig. So I want to talk about, the thing that impacts our bottom line the most, and that's what we pay, commission salespeople on our team. So that seems to be our biggest expense, I think, is that, once we get to a business outside of ourselves. And I know you got some comments to weigh in on that, but the one thing that I've noticed with Platinum members is that once they begin to grow their team, they're still selling houses, cherry picking the business, going on appointments. But when their deal closes, when the Platinum member, the team leader, when they close their deal, they don't pay themselves. So at the end of the year or end of the month, whenever they're calculating their bottom line, they get an artificially inflated number because they didn't account for their time in the job that they performed as the outside sales agent or inside sales agent.
Correct. So if it was an employee doing that work or an independent contractor doing that work, you'd have to pay them to do that work. So, you don't end up paying yourself. So things artificially look better. And if you're ever going to move yourself out of that role, then you've got a problem because you're unlikely going to find somebody that's going to do it for free like you've been doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a common mistake that agents make when they do not pay themselves as the inside sales agent or the outside sales agent on the transactions is that they will negotiate when they bring on outside salespeople. They negotiate numbers or salaries or pay plans that they can't support when they stop going on sales altogether. Paying people 60% or 70% and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that just doesn't seem to work here.
So let's talk about the commission split for a minute, since it is our biggest expense. Obviously, we want to attract good people, and we don't want our good people to leave, so we don't want to pay them too low a split. But on the other hand, we don't want to pay them too much money because it's going to eat away at the profitability, and the only reason that we should be motivated to do this. Now, the reason my agent stayed with me for a long time is they made a lot of money, net. Okay, but it was important for me to also make a lot of money. So you're going to have to figure out that. I'm talking to each one of you. You're going to have to figure out that balance for your business. Now, there's different ways to do this. You know, a simple way is you could just give them a percentage of the sale, whether it's 30% or 40% or 50%. And Todd, I like your model where you took some off the top for the company, and then you split things 50-50, and that way they're actually getting less than a 50-50 split, but they all feel they're getting a 50-50 split.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty simple. If you were, you know, we had our own independent real estate company, but before that, you know, we're at RE/MAX. The RE/MAX I was at was 100% commission split. I was, but the other agents at the RE/MAX office weren't. You know, it was 95-5. So it was common, even where they were coming from, the agent that we were recruiting from some other company, they were paying a percent or a franchise fee, you know, to their current real estate broker. It's 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever. So yeah, we just took on average about 10% off to the top of the transaction, and then we would split the balance 50-50 after an inside sales agent was paid. So 10% come right off the top, and then the inside sales agent, if there's one, pay them their 10%, and then we split the balance. So that ends up pushing your cost of sales to numbers that are reasonable, so you can keep your profit margin up around, you know, 25% or so. Yeah, that's how we did it, and that worked better than anything else that we had done, pay plan wise, trying to figure it out. And I'd recommend that everybody stay the same. Now, hey, with that, Craig, you and I both discovered this, is that it's way easier to change things for new people that you hire than to go back and change things for your existing guys.
Absolutely. It's really hard to go back and change the split unless you're increasing it. It's very difficult to go back and lower it. So, you know, if you're in doubt as to what your commission split should be, always on the err on the side of caution, lower, because you can always go higher. When you go higher, it's pretty tough to go lower. Those folks pretty much have to be grandfathered into that split, and then the new people that you take on would come in with the lower split.
Yep. Okay. So let's kind of settle in on that, though. So I think we all agree from experience that your cost of sales model, what you're paying out in inside sales agent commissions and OSA commissions, it just can't really exceed 50% of the income, because that other 50% is what, you know, is what we end up with, and we got to pay all of our expenses on that and have a profit after. So I don't know too many platinum members, Craig, that pay out 60% or 70% to their outside sales agents, and then if they took their money, you know, what they leave in, the team leader leaves in when they sell stuff, if they took that out, they would be losing money, minus numbers, some of them.
And it's good to know this from the onset, right? There are some members that we work with that really don't know that their numbers, their scheme doesn't make sense until we take them through this process. Like, then they finally realize that they're destined to fail with the splits that they have and the way their model's set up. I mean, how many times has that happened, Todd, where you're doing a consultation, and when you really get a fix on how they've got things set up, you realize, and you can then explain to the member that, well, there's no way that this can be profitable for you.
No, it happens quite a bit, man. It's a regular topic of conversation once the team gets going, and people figure it out too. I mean, it doesn't take long before you're paying out 50, 60%, 70% of your commission to an outside sales guy, combined with the inside sales ISA fee, if you have one. It doesn't take long before you realize that you're not making any money. So then that gets back to big question. Okay, well, if can I recruit good quality agents, at 40% or 50% of the.
And the answer is yes. And here's how you do it. You do it by providing everything for top producing agents. So the top producing agent that you want to recruit clearly understands how they're going to work way less. They'll spend less time doing it, but they're going to net more money in their bank accounts at the end of the year by coming and working with you. You're never going to win this battle. This discussion will not be won on split. Okay, so the focus cannot be on split because you'll lose. Because if you're going to pay them 40%, there's let's face it, lots of other brokerages where they can go get a higher split. So the focus has to be on how can we net you more money. And keep in mind, for agents, most of them selling 3 or 4 or 5 homes a year, even getting 100% of 4 or 5 transactions, it's not a lot of money. This is what I always looked at, Todd. I always every year, would get a list from Leon Dancona of all the agents in Toronto. And I was amazed that like 98% of them were basically starving to death. They were doing 10 transactions or less, 98% of them. So what that told me is 98% of the agents in my marketplace would net more money. They'd be better off coming to work for me. The number one, obstacle is ego, of course, right? It's not that it doesn't make financial sense for these agents to come over and work with me, because 98% of the time it totally made sense. So some of these agents that you're trying to recruit are simply just not going to listen to it no matter what. I mean, you could hand them gold bricks. They're not going to hear it. They're not going to hear your arguments. And they don't really care that they could net more money and work less by coming and working with you, which makes no sense, right? But you got to understand, for some people, that's not their currency. Making more money and working less and having a better life, that's not what turns them on. That's not their currency. Their currency is their ego. They're starving to death. They hardly sell any real estate, but seeing their, their picture on their for sale sign or their picture, on their little ad in the paper, that's what turns them on. So we're not after those kinds of agents. We're after the kind of agent that gets it, that says, hey, the only reason I'm doing this is, where can I hang my hat where I can make the most amount of money for the time that I spend. And there's no question that that's what I had set up. For example, I would often say to my agents, I couldn't afford to pay you more than a 40% split because really, you don't do a whole lot. Respectfully, here's what happens. My marketing produces a seller lead. My inside sales agent calls the lead, sets up a listing appointment. All you have to do as an outside sales agent is show up, use the Craig Proctor listing presentation, the PowerPoint, basically read all the words on the slides, next, 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 next. At the end of it, 90% of the time the seller says, okay, where do I sign? They sign the listing agreement, and then you scan it and you send it back to my office. You don't even have to come to the office. You just scan it or fax it into the office, and my admin team takes care of everything. They broker load your listing into the MLS. They get the key cut. They make the feature, take the pictures, make the feature sheets, and then the file goes over to my customer service manager, and Tammy calls the seller every single week and gives them the feedback of all the showings. And then when an offer comes in, my outside sales agent has got to spend maybe a half an hour presenting the offer. So how much time do they really have into this to make if it's a $20,000 commission or whatever, they're going to make like $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000 for 2 hours work.
Mm-hmm.
They're making $4,000 to $5,000 an hour. So when I explain it that way, I show all the systems that we have set up, that's how, how I break it down. I say, well, what are you making per hour right now? Because you come and work with me, I can demonstrate to you that you're going to make $4,000 to $5,000 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a great strategy. And I bet you that your average selling price, what your homes are selling for, just the average price per transaction, was probably more or at a higher price point than what the agent you was recruiting was selling houses at on average. And I bet you your commission was per transaction at a higher commission or percentage rate on average than what he was getting on his own.
Yeah, I remember the story when I recruited Frank Pulcinello. I really had to work hard to get beyond his ego because there was no question. I knew I could, and he was a top agent. He was probably making $150,000 a year, but he made $250 to $300 net in his pocket coming to work with me. But one of the things I did to recruit him is I took him out on, I think, like 3 or 4 listing appointments in a row one night. I said, look, I know you're close-minded about this. Just come and hang out with me. I've got 4 listing appointments tonight. And we went from appointment to appointment to appointment to appointment. I got all 4 listings, and I got them at a premium commission rate. I got them at the right price, at a premium commission rate, all 4 of them. I got like 6-month listing agreements. I got a transaction fee on top of the premium commission. And I said, do you think you can do this? And that's how I hooked him. That's how I got Frank to come over.
All right, so he wasn't working for you at the time. You said, hey, come on and shadow me for a few appointments today, and then see what you think. So
right, I had an appointment booked with him right after our my Monday team meeting, and he called me that morning and said, you know, I've thought about this over the weekend. I'm really not interested. So I said, okay, Frank. Here's what I'd like to do. Would you be open-minded to come and hang out with me tonight? I've got 4 listing appointments in Richmond Hill. Just come and hang out with me, and I'm going to show you how easy this is. I'm going to show you how I called myself out. I said, I'm going to get all 4 of these. I'm going to get a premium commission. I'm going to price them right, and I'm going to get them for the right length of time. I'm going to do this in 4 hours. I'm going to do 4 listing appointments in 4 hours. You're going to come around, and you're going to watch me do this, and I'm going to show you how easy it is, and you're going to realize this is easy for you to be able to do this for me, so I don't have to do this, and you'll make way more money net in your pocket than you are right now. So would you be open-minded enough to come and hang with me and do that tonight? He did. Everything happened just as I said it was going to happen, and that's how I got him.
Good strategy. Yep, that's a big goal.
And I kept him for 10 years, you know?
Yeah, that's a gold nugget. And I would leverage, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like, you know, the agent, if it didn't work out, you know, they're going to, you know, like Frank would have been able to go out there and start using your listing presentation. You can't pick up enough to steal anything in that amount of time, and there's no fear in that. It's a great strategy. Same thing would happen. Quality agents that you're trying to recruit that are on the bubble, come to one of your sales meetings. If you've already got your sales meeting set up the way you think they would benefit from it versus a complaint session maybe from some of your agents there. So, yeah, leverage things that you're doing right now when you recruit these guys. Hey, I found one of the exhibits to our outside sales agent agreement, and it says right here. I mean, I pulled up. You're talking about the job description for the OSA. I mean, come on. We broke it down into like there's 10 things that you do, and that's it. And in our fee, our commissions, you know, were here in Metro Atlanta much higher than, you know, what they were getting on their own. So they stood to make a lot more money per hour worked, and that's how you frame this. Just like you said, Craig, this is what you're going to make per hour, you know, compared to what you're doing right now, and you don't have any expenses. So do that up on the screen.
It's very similar to the conversations we have with sellers, right? So you're up against a discounter agent, okay? And all the discounter wants to talk to the seller about is, we charge you a lower percentage fee. And we have to come in and we have to counter that and say, okay, well, instead of focusing on what the agent charges, let's focus on what you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are going to net in your pocket. Our argument's going to be, we're going to get you more money in your pocket. So what's most important to you? How much the real estate agent makes or how much you make?
Good language. Good language. All right, let's go back to now that we've kind of settled that. So it's recommended that you take a little bit of money off the top of the transaction, just like if you were at, some real estate company and you took 5% or 10% off the top. You do the same. Okay, then you pay out your ISA, and you pay your
think about this. You know, you talked about RE/MAX. You and I were both at RE/MAX. Okay, so this 95-5 split you're talking about. What exactly were these agents getting for 5%? Answer: nothing. Look at all the stuff you're giving them. So, most agents you speak to are at a franchise, and they're paying a big chunk of money for absolutely nothing in return. So, if you'll pay all that for nothing, look at what we're going to do. We're going to provide not only the lead, we're going to provide the appointment, we're going to provide the training, the presentation. Our admin people are going to take care of all this stuff for you. the idea here is we couldn't afford to pay you more, nor, should you ask for more. You're being very highly compensated.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, recommended cost of sales, they can't be over 50%, shouldn't be, to experience a good bottom line. Let's talk about marketing. And Craig, I've often heard you say, hey, look you would pay a referral fee to anyone, 25%, if they sent you a referral. So, you could always start there on your marketing expense. My advice to some platinum members is that, hey, dude, you're not spending enough on marketing, and maybe you want to spend as much as you can stomach on marketing when you're growing your business. It's all based on ROI. Like if I go out and I buy an ad this week for $500, well, it's unlikely before the month's over I'm going to get a, quote, ROI, return on that investment from that ad. It may be 3 months down the road before the closings show up as a result of that ad. So all those things have to be considered, and it will balance out over time. But Craig, from our top platinum program members, their marketing expenses, advertising expense seem to hover around 9 to 10%. The average was 9.2. Okay, but that's
well.
not.
You've heard my analogy, right? So you meet an agent from another part of the country, and they like you, and they start sending you referrals. And everyone on our webinar here today would agree to pay them a 25% fee, a referral fee, on a one-off transaction. But there's no guarantee you'll ever get another referral from that realtor again. They could get out of the business. They could find someone else in your town they like better than you. But everyone on the webinar here would give them 25% on a one-off transaction, one-off referral where there's no leverage at all. Well, if we're willing to invest 25% on that one-off transaction, why not invest up to 25% in your marketing and be able to refer business to yourself forever? You've got total leverage with that. Now, the idea, of course, is to spend as little as you can while at the same time getting the highest quality leads. But all of us would spend 25%. We give that away, right, for that referral. We'd all do that. So I want everyone to open their mind up to the idea that, yeah, you give away 25% on a one-off referral. What would you invest in marketing?
Yeah, I contend that the majority of the people watching this webinar right now, platinum members, just don't spend enough money on getting business. And I get it. I mean, you're a little nervous about that. You don't want to, leave yourself in a hole or in a lurch or issues like that. But now that we have the ability to track, right? Now that we have the ability to track, there should be no guesswork here, okay? Because when you can track, you can easily calculate your return on investment. So let's say that I knew that I was going to get, every time I spent 25 cents, I would make $1. Okay, now let's make that number really big now. What if it was $250? How many of you would be willing to spend $250 if you knew 100% that you'd make $1,000? How many of you would do that? How many of you would be willing to spend $2,500 if you knew guaranteed you'd make $10,000? How many of you would spend $225,000 to make 100? How many of you would spend $250,000 to make $1 million? Now, we want to try to spend as little as we can, but even with those numbers, it all works, right? I hear this quite a bit from members. For example, maybe an editorial ad. Well, Craig, it's going to cost me $150 to run that ad. Well, what happened last time you ran it? Well, last time I ran it, I got 2 listings, and one of them sold, and I made $15,000. Well, it doesn't seem there's a lot to think about there. So you spent $150, and you made $15,000. Yeah, and then
that seems like a pretty good return on investment, right?
Right, and then you go out and spend money on something that gets a lot more leads, but not as many closings. So yeah, you want to measure everything based on ROI, not necessarily the number of leads that you get. It's a common, issue. We kind of get, like Craig, I remember when we started the Platinum program, the whole conversation started out like, hey man, how many leads are you getting? Like 1,000. How many homes you sell? Like 50. Doesn't it suck to 1,000 leads to sell 50
Well,
homes?
look at all the things we've talked about so far on this webinar that people focus on. So the seller focuses on, well, what percent is the real estate agent going to charge me? And the mistake they make is they list with the agent that tells them the lowest commission rate. Real estate agents, they choose their company or the team they're going to work with based on who's going to give me the highest split instead of who's going to get me the highest net in my pocket. And we make our decisions when it comes to advertising based on, well, what's going to get me the most amount of leads instead of what's going to get me the highest quality leads and the highest return on investment. So quite often, even though we have the information at our fingertips, we make our decision based on the wrong information. Like we make it's the same information rather, but the wrong things become important to us.
Yes, sir. All right, now what about, this is a little more difficult, I guess, and I know you're getting short of time here, staff wages. We've got like you said, you got your bookkeeper, your office manager, lead coordinator, those things, listing coordinator, those things that you're paying for, salaries. When we surveyed our top program members, you, me included, the number looked like it came around 12% was the average for staff wages. Now I know sometimes when you do a new hire, that number goes way up, but then you get return on your investment, right? When you hire people, that's an investment. Return on investment sets in, and the numbers balance out. So, but that's what we've seen across the board. It comes in around 12% there. And but I remember one of my best inside sales agent ever, Craig. I paid the guy $8,000 a month base salary.
Yep.
And it was, and I was like, people that were close to me looked at me and said, "Man, you're insane." I was like, "Heck no, the guy's making me minimum $500,000, $600,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend that to make that." And that's what it required, to keep you. So it's all about ROI on those kind of things. But that seems about the average there. The biggest mistake that I see members make, I've personally made in my own career, is over-renting space. And that can be a killer. Where you go out and rent space and it's 5-8% of your budget or your annual gross income.
Yeah, agents think they need to have a big prestigious office, and it's just not true. I mean, the office of the future is no office.
Amen, brother. I like that one. But it's an ego thing. It's something that people feel. But my question is legit. As a coach, hey, well, show me how this is making you money. How's that extra, $3,000 a month you're paying in rent over what you were paying or could be paying? Like, where's the return on investment? And it's not a wise business decision. And I was guilty of that. When I left Remax, I over-rented space. I learned the hard way on that. So anyway, it comes in about 2%. It seems to be the average, and including 1% for education, which if you're in our program here, that's over a 20% bottom line profit, and that's at a 50% cost of sales margin. So to make 20 to 25% on other people's work, that's the idea here. And that's pretty good. So, but that should give everybody a pretty clear idea on profit and loss, what the balance sheet should look like, the categories that are available, and what the numbers should be. And this is not new to the discussion here in this program. We talked about this from the beginning. Craig and I want you guys to net a lot of money. We want this to be very good for you. And it starts with the people that you bring on. Some salespeople are more productive than others. Some leads that you generate, for example, referrals versus buying leads on the internet. One of them costs way more than the other. Leveraging your signs to get more calls versus just going with the traditional templated sign that your real estate office says you got to use. All those things make difference. You want to squeeze dollars out of everything that you leverage in your business there. So all these things make big differences here and can raise or lower your bottom line and profit. And so, Craig, that's what I spend a good bit of my time doing here with members when I'm on the phone with them, is just trying to squeeze more business out of what they're currently doing. And they're investing time and money on, and that immediately raises their bottom line.
Yeah, and you're very good at that. It's so much easier to see things in someone else's business because you've got that clarity. When we look at our own business, I guess because we're so close to the fire, it's very hard sometimes to see the things that would be obvious to Todd. So if you haven't had a consultation with Todd about how to become more profitable, I would recommend that you do that because he's going to kind of tear this apart and ask you a bunch of questions and challenge you on why you do the things you do and why you spend the money the way you spend it and how come you don't do other things that you're not doing. He's got a lot of experience in doing that. So and you should be having a meeting at least once a year, preferably twice a year, with whoever it is that's crunching your numbers. Okay, I really don't think you should be doing this. It's not a rainmaker activity, the number crunching, but you must have that person who's doing your number crunching give you reports every single month with the same number, so you can compare 1 month versus the next month versus the next month, and you should be able to go back year after year. So, so here we are at the beginning of March. I would want to know, well, how did we do this February compared to last February compared to the February before? Like, we're trying to make things better and better and better, and I'm going to understand whether we're going in the right direction or whether we're going in the wrong direction and, what we ought to do about it. So this is important. It is definitely worth all of you spending several hours once a month looking at these reports. The best agents that we've ever worked with, Todd, are the agents that know their numbers.
Mm-hmm. There's no question. Just virtually every agent in our program that makes, $1 million, I'd say $750,000 or more, that I've talked to, interviewed, spent time with, they know their numbers pretty well.
Well, I noticed that when we were in Orlando at that titanium meeting, I noticed as we would go around, we have like a U-shaped table, as we go around the group, it wouldn't sort of matter what number, what metric you were looking for. They knew their numbers very, very well off the top of their head. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't know their number, they were able to access it within a couple of minutes.
Yep. So,
hey, we got a few questions here. Can I ask you some of these questions before we go further?
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right. So Brian is asking this: 10% off the top for the ISA, then 30%, 37% to the office, and then 90% to the OSA. 10% to the office. What would that work? Okay, I'm not quite getting that math, but I don't know. Did I miss something there? I understand the 10% off the top for the inside sales agent. Then he's saying 37% to the office. That seems high. And then 90% to the OSA. Okay, so here's how I think it worked for you, Todd. You took 10% off the top for the office first, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then if an ISA was involved in that transaction, they got paid next, correct?
You're correct.
All right, and what were they making?
On average, around 5%.
5%. Okay. So 10% goes to, back then it was TW and Associates. Mm-hmm. And then, what percentage for inside sales?
5%.
5% for inside sales. Okay, so 85% now is split 50-50 between the company and the agent. Mm-hmm. So what's half of 85? 42.5 is what the outside sales agents is getting, and the rest is going to the office.
Yep, I just threw that up on the screen next time. Yep, it was basically 15%. That included what we paid the inside sales guy. The agent got 50% of the income after that.
Okay, Vic is asking this. Craig, I know you were in the business for a long time. What did you spend in advertising to sell 500-plus homes? My advertising expenses were probably a little higher than yours, Victor, because I did a lot of experimenting for all of our coaching and platinum members. So I would do a lot of testing, and the benefit, you guys benefited from all of that. But I would say on an average year, I would spend somewhere between 15 to 20%. Some years up to 25. 25 was absolutely my cutoff. So in my best years, we did $4 million in GCI. Okay, so 25% of that, that'd be $1 million in advertising. I mean, you can do a lot of advertising for $1 million. Now, people would look at that and they would say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, remember, that generated another $3 million. And even if I had to give 30 or 40% of that away to my outside sales agents, it still left me with a big number for not having to do anything. Remember, at this point of my career, I wasn't meeting with buyers or sellers. How many of you would be okay with this? Imagine having a business that made $4 million, that brought in $4 million, but if you could make over $1 million and have nothing, I mean nothing to do with your business, how many of you would be okay with that? That's what we're talking about, having a profit of 20 to 25%, and that's with me doing nothing. Now, back in the days when I was out there cherry-picking the best business, I mean, that's, for most of you, that's the kind of business you have where you're not ready to move out of it yet, and that is a mistake. Many of you move out of your business too early because you think, oh, that's great, I want to live like Todd and Craig, and remember, it took Todd and I years and years and years to get ourselves in that position where we could slowly move out of our business so we truly had a business. It just was. It operated without our presence. But for most of those years, Todd and I were cherry-picking the very best listing appointments. So in those years, our profitability could be as high as 40%, depending how much selling that Todd and I did. But don't get focused on the percent. Focus on the number. Do you know that I made more money even though my profitability was 25%? 25% of $4 million is better than 40% of $2 million. Everybody get that? Plus, when your business operates without you, how many buyers and sellers could you deal with? See, that's the thing that kept coming back to me is like, wow, I made the buyer part of my business work first without me, right? I delegated all the buyers, so my whole buyer system worked 100% without me, and I started thinking about that. Well, how many buyers could I work with if my buyer side of my business had absolutely nothing to do with me? Well, the answer is infinite, right? There's no limit to it. And that's why I was able to really crank up the buyer side of my business. So then I started working on the seller side of the business. Well, gee, how many homes could I list if it had absolutely nothing to do with me? So that's how we got this thing up to the $4 million GCI mark. Now, we just kept doing it over and over and over again. Had I not moved to Florida, we would have kept still doing it. But, I didn't want to have a business here while I was living in a different country. So I sold the thing just like you did, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll get some more questions here. Sam in Richmond Hill, my buddy here, and Sam says, Craig, thank you for doing all of that testing for us over all those years and paving the road for us. Well, you're quite welcome, Sam. All right, let's see. We've got a few other questions here. All right. Well, someone's asking about the coaching and the education part of it. So how much should you budget for, being a platinum member, going to conferences? Where does that fit in to your plan? And I think you talked about that a minute ago.
Yep. I mean, it's going to be. If you're not making any money, you join the platinum level coaching program, then it's going to be a big fat minus number. But it's like anything. It's an investment that you make. What people pay us, Craig, is it's less than what doctors and lawyers and accountants and even bankers and most attorneys, what they pay for their education is far more than what members pay us. And our members make staggeringly higher amounts of money than those people we just mentioned there. So,
right. So I was out with a couple of broker owners, and they were frustrated. They were saying, Craig, we can't get our agents to invest in education. We would like all of the agents at our franchise. We'd like them all to get involved with your training. But they said, when even when we have free educational events, we can't even get the agents to come out to free. So it's very difficult to get them to pay for anything. However, their expectations, what they believe they should make, is more money than the dentist. Right? So they want to make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. That's their expectation. Okay, so what do we call that? It's just what they expect, right? Is kind of outrageous. Mm-hmm. They've got these unrealistic ideas that they should make that kind of money. However, they don't want to do what the dentist had to do. Okay, so they don't want to go invest in 7 or 8 years of university, and then the poor dentist gets out of school after 7 or 8 years of university, and they're in debt hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans. Then the poor dentist has got to go lease a building or buy a building and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment. And in real estate, we think we can go to school for a couple months, and sense of entitlement, that's what the word I'm looking for, sense of entitlement. That's what happens in real estate. We've got this sense of entitlement that we should be making as much money as the poor dentist who did all of that.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you're making $150,000 a year and you spend $15,000, on coaching, for example, that's 10%. It's all relative. You measure everything based on ROI. Craig and I aren't here to take anybody's money, but we are definitely here to help you make a lot of it. So we demand ROI on the things we invest in, and we want you guys to do the same. So that's how you measure this.
Okay, Lisa says, my question is on agent splits. It seems in doing my own research here in my area, there's a lot of brokerages that are doing really high splits, like up to 95% with office fees instead. Do you feel this is a better way to go? Trying to compete with a lot of franchise brokerages seems to be getting tougher here to attract great agents. I would never try to compete with what those guys are doing. I mean, our story is a different story. When they're offering a big high split, they're saying, hey, agents that all you care about is a big high split, you come and work with us. We're after agents. Our argument is you're going to make more per hour net in your pocket coming to work with us. So what's most important? Making no money with a high split or making a lot of money that sticks to your bottom line?
I vote for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're not going to attract the agent that has their own ability to generate a lot of leads, and they've got a great presentation. They've got all the systems themselves, and they're making lots of money. Of course, they're going to go for the company with the highest split because they don't need all the stuff that we're offering. But most agents don't. They're not like that. Most agents would do far better in our environment because they actually need the leads that we provide. They need the universal callback script. They don't know how to convert. They need the presentations. They need all the training and everything that you provide. They need that. They're going to make more money operating in that environment.
Yeah, I was reading an article the other day on Inman, Craig, incidentally. It was pretty interesting. It said, look, if you're a real estate agent, you got two options. Either you go, you seek out, and you join the best team that you can, or you build your own. He goes, the agents that are in between, they're just going to get swallowed up. And we're seeing that increasingly. As a matter of fact, Craig, we wrote a book on that recently.
Yep. And we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You're either going to create your own team or you're going to join someone else's team. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so I think when we see these companies in our marketplaces do these things, go to small transaction fees per deal, or high commission splits for the agents, and they reduce services. They're basically giving up, and it's the final nail in the coffin before those companies. It's just a matter of time before they don't exist, or they don't make money, and they have to get people in there. Then they change the way things are done behind the scenes. We all know
these offices that are giving away these huge splits are not making money. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all know. We know how hard it is to make money with doing the things that we do. Can you imagine, the rent overhead and the labor and equipment and phones and services just to keep the doors open? And if an agent doesn't sell anything, the brokerage has no money.
That's right.
RE/MAX here in town, Craig went out of business back there in the housing recession. And it was sad, because I was fond of RE/MAX. I was there for 15 years. It was tough to watch him go belly up. And the largest RE/MAX office in the RE/MAX franchise system, RE/MAX Greater Atlanta, bit the dust. They had 9 offices, and they lost all of them. And went from a gazillion agents to 0 during that time. They just, because people weren't selling homes, and the RE/MAXes still have these huge inflated budgets to try to sustain these places that went out of business. That's why Craig and I said, look, don't make the mistake that a lot of these people do under rent. You don't need that. So be very careful about that. So anyway, a couple of things on income. One of the things that where I start with new platinum members, Craig, is encouraging the member to increase the amount of money they make per transaction. Begin to test it. Very rarely in my 11 years here as Platinum Coach, Craig, have I met a Platinum member that was overcharging the public when they first joined the program. And we still don't have any members that are, quote, overcharging, but the majority of them, are charging the same amount of money for the services they provide that the agent that just got their license last week down at the local real estate office.
Yeah, because we're brainwashed to believe that the fee needs to be the same or even lower. So we have a situation here where Platinum members invest a lot of money in your education. You've got a contact management system. You've got perhaps a team. You've got a couple administrative people. You spend a lot of money on marketing and on education. You've got these awesome systems, and you're competing with some part-time guy that works out of his parents' house who doesn't even have a cell phone. And we're all charging the same commission. Anybody see anything wrong with that?
Yeah, it's amazing to me. And but when we go out, in our own personal lives, and we go shopping, and we look for things, and we're buying things we're not buying everything on price. We're looking at what it provides. Hell, there's many times where I pick stuff up and I buy it, and I don't even know what the price is until I'm swiping my credit card because I wanted that thing. It was going to help me, I believe, better than anything else would. So cost is only a factor in the absence of value. So as you get into growing your team here and configuring your cost of sales and commission splits, just understand that it's likely that what you're going to charge for your services is going to be more than the average agent gets for theirs. And I would think you should be. Look, Craig, I said this at our last mastermind with the titanium guys, that what the industry norm is, that is the discounted rate. That is the discount. The norm, what everybody else does, what the majority do, in Atlanta here, Metro Atlanta, whatever that commission rate is, that's the discount. That's not the full service fee. Hell, I'm the full service guy. We provide the services and the value. Everybody else does the discount. That's the majority. That is the discounted rate. So, which is funny because, people talk about discount this and discount that. Well, that's the average agent is discounted. What the norm in the industry standard is, in my opinion, in my experience, is the discount. So you want to look at yourself as being well above that, and you already provide more services and value. Most of the guys on this webinar did. So anyway, so I highlighted here, kind of what our fee structure was, when we're taking listings and working with buyers. And that's not anything that we haven't talked about before. And that's in Metro Atlanta where the commission's 5% to 6% range. for the average agent out there. So don't miss out on that opportunity. And this is something you should be testing on a regular basis, Platinum members. And more on that at the upcoming Super Bowl, the Platinum Money Making Summits as well. Hey, Craig, one of the sessions that we have in Anaheim is I've got a panel at the end of day one. I've picked out our top members that make the most amount of money selling houses using what we give them. They're going to be on stage, got their marketing materials, how they do things, and all of the Platinum members in the room, all eyes are going to be glued on these guys, and we're going to learn a thing or two about how they think about things and what they think about on a daily basis. Really results in how they do things, right? And that's going to be the biggest discovery there. And one of the things you're going to see across the board is that they all get a lot more money per transaction than the average agents do in their marketplace, well above. Okay, so, and these guys have raving fans. So anyway, if you're not going to be there, you're going to miss out on that one. So anyway, questions? Andrea, do we have anybody raising their hand wanting to talk?
Yeah, now I'm going to have to slide away here, Todd. I want to thank everybody for being with us. Todd will continue on and take the questions.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Go ahead and raise your hand now.
There that wanted to ask questions. Yeah, let's make sure. Okay, so go ahead, Andrea.
We have Pawan Sharma. Your mic is now open. Or Pawan. I'm not getting anything from them.
Yeah, going once, going. Hey, just so you'll know, I don't know what, because every webinar we do, and Pawan's on it, his hand is raised. So something he does when he logs in. Yeah, every time he logs in, he raises his hand, and he probably doesn't realize what's going on.
And that was it. No other hands raised. Stephen had a type question that Craig didn't get to, and it was, what is RBID? And it looks like we lost Todd.
Let me say a couple of things about this.
Todd, we lost you for about 10 seconds there.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so let me say a few things about income. Okay, over here, gross income from sales. Okay, well, look, you guys go out, you negotiate your fee with sellers, and you negotiate your fee with buyers. Okay, and you charge a transaction fee. Okay, you move the fee up. Okay, you charge a minimum commission if the home is really cheap, or say it's a $50,000 home. Well, you're selling it just like it's a $100,000 house. You have a minimum commission. All of these things impact the amount of money that you make per transaction. Transaction fees, raising your fee, charging minimum commissions, other income sources from vendors, your mortgage guys, and title companies that pay you on a monthly basis for the privilege of being an exclusive provider, okay, and other sources of income, okay, so all of that, okay, equals a certain number, and then you get into the expenses, okay. The pay plan that you have associated with each individual agent and inside sales agent and your salaried employees, okay, those are specifics, but over here on this Platinum P&L, these percentages, these are models. These are averages, okay? They're averages. So what Craig and I are saying is that your cost of sale, what you pay your ISA, what you pay your MLS, what you pay your OSA, okay? Those costs can't exceed 50% of the gross. You just can't. If it does, you won't make 20% or more, okay? Well, I shouldn't say it's unlikely, okay? So you're going to have to push that down. The pay plan is a different story. So once you understand the model and what you need to do on other people's work here to be profitable, then you create your pay plans. So that's why we took 10% off the top. We had 5% for ISAs. Okay, that's about 15% before we got into the OSA split of 50%. Okay, we took 10% off the top of every transaction. as a quote franchise fee that went right to the bottom line. Okay, so anyway, that allowed us to keep the cost of sales down and the marketing message good, right? Saying, hey, yeah, it's 50. Here's what we do: we get a commission check, and you and I split it. Okay, your half you keep, and out of my half, I'm going to pay for the marketing. I'm going to pay for all the assistance and the labor. I'm going to pay the operational expenses. I'm going to pay the rent. I'm going to take all the risk. Okay, I'll make sure you get all the leads. Okay, and after that, I'm going to be left with about 20%. So if you're okay getting half the money, and you're okay with me getting 20% of the money, we're probably going to get along really well. Outside sales agent. So that's some good language and some things to recognize here as you get into checking your numbers and following along to see if you're falling into this model that we've set up for you. Okay, so Andrea, I think there might be a question or two.
Yes, from Stephen we have, what is RBID?
What is RBID? Okay, some of you on the webinar know exactly what that is, some of you don't. Actually, I've got about a 15 or 20-minute session on RBID at the upcoming conference, only because I had Shy at Lifestyle Media rebuild that system. And just so everybody knows what it is, it's an online auction effect marketing system for selling your listings. Okay, so that's what it is, and you can see more of that at the summit. Got a short little session on it, not long, but I just wanted everybody to see kind of the some of the rollouts and advancements that we've made with that, and it is a jackpot if you're trying to find angles of getting your listings sold if the marketplace warrants that. Some of you are in marketplaces where you don't even have to list a house in this house. Okay, some of you aren't. Okay, so you'd be interested in RBID. Anyway, that answers that question. What else?
Okay, this is from John. In a well-run team, about how much gross income is required to net $1 million in your experience?
At least 3. Okay, now my best, most profitable year ever, not the year that I made the most amount of money, okay, but the year that I netted, I had the highest net income. I did $2.8 million and netted $900,000. Okay, so you can see that percent is really high. It's about 30%. So that was a very profitable year. Okay, and that was a year where we really we raised our fees across the board. We started charging commission that I didn't know you could charge. Okay, we went from 7.5%, 8% commissions, and we moved the cooperating broker fees down in the same number of transactions. So that was a very profitable year. Now we made more money, in other years, $1 million in net income or more. Okay, but I'm just telling you that was my most, as a percentage of profit, most profitable time, and that was 2003 when I did that. Okay, other years, we 3 million or more, and you make 800, you might make 1.2 million, depending on what you're juicing into your business. But on average, the guys in our program that net $1 million are doing somewhere around 3.5. Okay, and they don't go on any appointments. They make a few inside sales agent calls, but their primary job every day is to get up and go find really good people to leverage and improve their current marketing systems to squeeze more out and roll out other marketing systems, because there's always changes in the marketplace, from year to year, changes in internet traffic, changes in print marketing and advertising, supply and demand of certain kinds of houses. So the entrepreneur never stops working on the business. Hey, let me say this. Everybody pay very close attention to this gold nugget here. One of the things that I've heard over my tenure as Platinum Coach from members is this. They would say, hey, Todd, I just want to get my business up to X number of dollars and then manage it. Okay, so let me repeat that. Hey, Todd, I just want to get my business up to $1 million, for example, and then just, kind of manage it. And my response is quick, okay, and brutal. And the response is this: well, then you will go out of business then. And there's no such a thing as getting your business up to a number and then quitting. And the people will be like, what do you mean quitting? And I'm like, dude, a business requires an entrepreneur at the helm all the time, every day, every year. So once you stop being the entrepreneur, your business will go backwards. It will go out, you'll go out of business. You can never be the manager. Right? If you're the entrepreneur now, then it would have to be replaced by another entrepreneur. Somebody's got to be working on the business. Somebody's got to be recruiting. So I think what people say when they mean that, what they mean when they say that is that they want to get their business up to a point where they don't have to be the technician going on the appointments, calling the leads. I think that's what people mean by that, but that's what I want you to think of. Remember, there's the entrepreneur, there's the technician, and there's the manager. The manager is all about the status quo. So, but be careful using that word. You guys, all of you on this webinar, you're the entrepreneur. You're the rainmaker. Your job is to bring in the business, figure out how to make this business go. Okay, so if you're not going to do it, somebody else is going to have to do that. Your business will stop and they'll go backwards. That's a fact. Okay, managers, they don't do those things. They just want to keep things the way they are. Manage the process. Other people do that. You guys are the growth factors in this equation, and you can never stop doing that. So, but yes, I understand not being the technician, which is I don't really want to go on the appointments anymore. That will be inevitable. You won't have a choice in the matter. The business will grow beyond you, and you'll find that you can make more money not going on the appointments. Okay, that will only happen with an overflow of leads. Okay, whether you're doing 50 transactions right now or 500 transactions right now, if you do not have overflow, your business does not have opportunity for growth. So your job as the entrepreneur is to wake up every day and create overflow of good buyers, overflow of good sellers. If that requires spending more money on marketing, then you're looking at it as an investor. Once you decided to grow your real estate business, and all of you have since you're in this program, once you made that decision, you entered a new class of citizen. You are now an investor. You're in the investor class. Your job every day is to get up and figure out who to invest in and what to invest in. And the better your investments are, and the more often you make those good investments, the bigger and the fatter and the faster your business grows, period. When you get up every day and you fail to make those investments, your business goes nowhere. So your routine as the entrepreneur, the rainmaker, and the team leader is to invest every day. What are you doing right now? Is what you're doing right now making you a quantum leap? And if the answer is no, then you have failed as an investor. You are. Your job, invest in people, invest in technology, invest in marketing, invest in learning, or buying things like licensing stuff. Much of the stuff that we give you is licensed to you to use. You're paying for that. It's included in your coaching fees. Use it and put it to work. Okay, so that's my monologue for the day. Andrea, I got time for one more question.
Okay, our final question from Alan. What % of expenses do you target to be recaptured through letting others have a presence on your system? And he says vendor income.
Okay, ask the question one more time. I'm going to listen closer.
Okay. What % of expenses do you target to be recaptured through letting others have a presence on your systems? Vendor income.
I don't know if there's an exact. That's a complex question, and there's not a simple answer. Okay, the answer obviously is as much as you can get. Okay, but for example, some of you guys are using Commissions Inc. Okay, many of you are, as well as everybody should be if you can get it in your marketplace. I believe in it. Craig believes in it. Dwayne's going to be at the conference there. He's got some new things for Platinum members to share with you. So many of you are using that system, and as a result of it, you've been able to convince lenders to pay you. Okay? Well, just because you spend a couple of $1,000s a month on the system doesn't mean that you want to get $2,000 from the lender. Heck, you may want to get $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. It's all relative to how much money they make from it. It's the same with us. Okay, we spend a couple of $1,000s, for example, hypothetically on commissions, so that we can make 10 or 15 grand. Right? So why wouldn't the lender do the same thing? And the answer is they will. But if you say, hey, will you pay me $2 grand? Well, yeah. Okay. If that's, that's a good deal for them. So it doesn't matter what you pay. It matters what you can get, what you negotiate, and the return on that investment by your vendor. Okay, so be really careful about saying, okay, I'm getting this newspaper, and this paper is going to cost me $5,000 a month. I'm going to sell $500,000 worth of ads. If somebody benefits from your business a lot, it may be more than that you can get from the vendor. So that's the way you want to look at it, their rate of return, what they're willing to invest. It's irrelevant what you're paying for it. Okay, what is relevant is what they will make, and you can charge accordingly. All right, so I'll end it on this story. I had this attorney that I've been doing business with for about 5 years. We'd gotten to be pretty good friends. Took me hunting and did all kinds of cool stuff there. And, but he was closing a lot of deals for me every month, upwards of about 8 to 10 a month. Of the sometimes as many as 14 or 15, I think the guy would do. It was a lot. Among all the transactions, he got the largest percentage of anybody else did in terms of any one person getting the closings. Okay, so I went to him. Didn't think it was a big deal, and I said, "Hey, Jim, hey, look, I'm not interested in going hunting and all those kind of things, anymore. I really want to grow my business, and I want to infuse some capital into marketing. So I want a real different relationship with you. Okay, I've calculated it up. You've been averaging this many amount of closings for me, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to pay me X number of dollars a month going forward." And I think the number was it was a couple grand. It was somewhere around there. I mean, think about it. The guy's making, I don't know, $10,000, 15 grand a month from me, maybe more. I don't know what these attorneys get with their title insurance premiums and all that kind of stuff. I'm just looking at attorney fees. So I'm asking for a couple of grand and make a good case for it. He comes back and says no, he's not going to do it. So that was it. This is a guy I've been doing business with for years. I didn't talk to him again for 10 years. 10 years went by before I reconnected with him. That's amazing. And it was a big mistake for him. We went on, got another vendor. They wrote us a check gladly. They went on to make a lot of money every month. And we used that money to offset marketing expenses, or just, like you see right up here at the top of the page, vendor income. Okay? So anyway, don't be scared to ask. And just because they're your buddy or your friend or family member, remember at the end of the day, you're the entrepreneur, and your job is to grow this business, man. Get this thing growing. There's a lot of people who benefit from your successful business. And if it remains small because you want it to remain small, that's okay. That's up to you. Okay? But there's a lot of other people that could benefit from a growing profitable business. Okay? You do really good work for buyers and sellers, right? They get good experiences from you. The economy's boosted. Okay? And a long list. Your family benefits from the increased income. So anyway, wherever you give money away, your worthy causes, church, schools, charities. So you do good things with the return on your investment, and that's what I want to encourage everybody to be aggressive here this year in 2015 and get after it, man. And a great place to continue this is in Anaheim at the Super Bowl of Platinum Money Making Summits. Andrew, are you coming?
No, I wish.
Yeah, tell Craig to put you on a plane and get you out there as a big bonus for one of these webinars for us.
One day.
Yeah, and then we all can meet you. Of course, I met you once. It's been several years since I've seen you, but yeah, you should come.
Yeah.
Bring the family.
Oh man, my kid's old enough. I need a break. I'll just come by myself.
All right. Well, look at that's going to wrap up our webinar today on improving your bottom line, managing your expenses, and becoming a bigger part of the investor class. All right? So fantastic. You send all your questions over, get with your coach, drill them. Let's keep this wheel turning. Let's make 2015 the biggest and best year ever for your real estate business. Craig and I are with you on it. And we look forward to seeing everyone, some of you down in Fort Lauderdale this weekend at the Platinum OSA workshop, and then all of you in Anaheim at the Super Bowl Platinum Money Making Summits, April 9th, 10th, and 11th. All right, so with that, it's going to wrap up our webinar. Let's go sell some houses. Oh, and if you're going to sell, that's right, go sell big. See you.